Hey guys, so this is probably my most requested video to make on my channel, and well, I decided to finally actually do it and show you guys a couple of methods that I use to weigh my jerk baits. And well, basically, I have two different methods that I use depending on the shape of the lure and what sort of action I want it to have. And the first method or way I usually have is weight from only one spot, and this is a pretty good way of having a little bit more erratic action. And the other method is from two different spots, like on this one. And this is a slightly modified version of this one. The overall body shape is completely exactly the same, but this one is a little bit more rounder compared to this one, and also the orientation of line ties and hook hangers is a little bit different. And yeah, of course, the tail is completely different as well. This one has much more stable glide compared to this one. So I would say that if you want to have a stable gliding jerkbait, definitely do it from two different spots. And of course, here is the probably most easiest jerkbait model to actually make. I think it might have been Salmo that made the first jerkbait that was sort of similar to this one, but this is a great shape to choose if you are very new to jerkbaits and don't really know that much about them yet. Very forgiving shape, and this one is also weight from two different spots. And yeah, let's move on and I'll show you exactly how I do this stuff. Okay, next up we're gonna have to talk about what kind of wood to actually choose for a glide bait. Personally, I've always preferred to use maple on mine, but other kinds of hardwoods will work as well. Stuff like oak or birch or even basswood will work. Although I think with basswood it's okay-ish wood kinda, but the downside is that it's quite buoyant compared to oak or even maple. So you're gonna have to put a ton of lead into it to make it actually sink. And that's basically the biggest thing I like about these kinds of hardwoods is that you don't have to put a lot of weight into them to actually make them sink, which is going to be economical for you in the long run if you actually make a lot of jerk baits like I do, or I did in the past at least. Now I'm more into quality than quantity, you know. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna talk about a little bit of how to actually start weighting these things, and a little bit of the quote unquote things to remember. So I've drawn this center line across the bait from the nose ring to the back ring to basically illustrate a method that I use when I weigh my baits. And I always try to keep the weight under this imaginary center line. And that is basically to prevent the bait, first of all, spinning around its axis. And of course, the lower you're able to actually put your weight, the more stable the glide will be. And with a bait like this, I always prefer that to actually be the case, and rather than having all kinds of fancy belly flashes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's usually something that I think a lot of beginners actually overlook, that you should always try to have the weight as low as possible. So before I can actually start tweaking the ballast placement on the water bucket, I need to cover my lure with something, and I've used this white stuff that's basically a mixture of this stuff and this stuff that looks like cocaine. This is titanium oxide, and this is a clear coat from CAB, and as you can see, it's completely clear. And when you mix it with titanium oxide, it turns completely white. And you can actually use titanium oxide with normal epoxy as well, but I just prefer this way. Seems to be much more easier to just dip the bait in, and you have to only wait something like 30 minutes, if even that. And I usually do this more or less 6 or 4 times until the lure is completely sealed. And next up I'm gonna show you how to do the weight placement thing. Now I'm gonna show you guys my way of determining the places where I put the ballast on. And basically what I just use is electrician's tape, or electric tape, or whatever you want to call it. Other stuff like rubber bands will work as well, or other kinds of tape as well. I think probably the best would be to use duct tape, but that's kind of expensive compared to electrician's tape, so just prefer to use this because I'm a cheap ass, basically. Yeah, so let's see if I got it right. It might be a little bit nose heavy. Let's try it again. No, it's pretty okay, I think. Usually if I have to tweak it, this electrician's tape is quite good because you can peel it off, tweak the ballast spot a little bit, and then just put it on again, and it still holds quite well. So yeah, that's that, and let's move on. So next I just need to drill the holes, and as you can see, hopefully, I've marked the places where the weight need to be, and I'm gonna make a small indentation on my knife's edge or knife tip, so that when I start to drill, it doesn't start to slip. And let's make the other one as well. And I think it's probably gonna be just fine now. Yeah, I need to a little bit of this to make them actually fit. See? There's the first one. Let's try it this way. Yep. I just need to cover the holes and we're done. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill the holes, and I'm gonna be using plastic putty. Looks like this. And sometimes I'm forced to do 2 patches of these because this is quite runny and it's sometimes hard to get the hole completely filled with this thing because it's so runny, and especially on this particular bait because it's quite round as well. But let's see. You always need to mix this stuff quite thoroughly so that it actually hardens. And now we just wait, and I'm going to be able to take off the excess. So now I'm just going to take off the excess and sand this thing a little bit. And it's usually a good idea to actually do this quite early because this stuff does harden quite hard. So it's much harder for you to actually get this thing off after maybe half an hour, because it really does harden very hard, which is also its best quality, I think. And then I just sand it a bit. Just smoothen out the rough edges. And after that, I usually always dip it a couple of times in the lure varnish that I showed you guys earlier. But not this one, because this is made of resin. And I'm gonna be showing you how you can actually do the same sort of thing, but with a resin mold. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you guys how to do the same exact thing, but with a resin mold, or with a resin bait, rather. Here I have the wire already bent, ready to go into the mold. And like I said before, I always try to keep the weight as low as possible on a bait. So that's why I have this bend here. And as you can see, I have marked these places on the mold itself, just to basically remind me of where I actually need to put the weight. And on this particular model, I've done experiments in the past and know that usually around 8 grams on each side works the best. So basically, the way I weigh these things is I have these lead weights that I've cast myself, and I just basically just crimp them on into the wire. That should be close enough. Let's see. Yep, that's pretty much spot on. And let's put the other one in as well. Crimp it a little bit tighter. Let's see if I had them completely where I want it to be. Yep, pretty much spot on. And then I have this little trick that I use. It's a sort of like a L-shaped pin that I use to secure the actual wireframe into the mold. And it works quite well, I think. And yeah, just place it into the mold, seal the mold, and basically this is ready to be cast. Okay, I decided to go to the nearby river and actually show you guys what different kind of weighting on exactly the same body will do. The one on the left is the new improved model with two weighting placements, and the one on the right is the older one with the more erratic action, and it's weighted from only one spot. And as you can see, the result and effect is quite drastic.